The Poor Billionaire. In a great palace surrounded by water once lived a rich billionaire. Behind the high walls of the palace, the rich billionaire lived the most lavish lifestyle. Many poor servants and serfs worked on his estate. On the other side of the palace, people lived in great poverty. All the poor people worked for the rich billionaire who paid the poor just enough to survive but not thrive. If the billionaire paid the poor their fair share, the poor could one day become rich and they will no longer be willing to work for the rich billionaire. That is how the rich billionaire thought. That is how he lived. There was one thing that the rich billionaire loved more than his money and riches. That sole thing was his only daughter. In a sea of darkness, she was the only light in his life. She was the reason why he got rich in the first place. The billionaire loved his only daughter and wished to give her everything that she ever needed. If the daughter needed the world, the rich billionaire was prepared to gift her the world. One day, the favorite daughter of the billionaire got into an accident. She started losing blood and her organs started to fail. She urgently needed an organ donor and her father was the only compatible match. It was only her father that could come to her rescue. In great distress, the billionaire ordered his servants to prepare his helicopter so that he could fly to the hospital and help his daughter, which he dearly loved. However, the servants informed the distressed master that his helicopter was currently in repairs. A broken part needed to be replaced. Since the factory that produced helicopter parts was closed a long time ago, the new part had to be ordered from another country. The delivery was expected in a few days. "How unfortunate," said the troubled billionaire. In haste, he ordered that his servants prepare his limousine so that he could visit the hospital immediately. The servants did as their master wished. The driver arrived quickly and they both headed to the hospital. Long and treacherous was the road to the hospital. Driving through potholes in the poor country roads opened the eyes of the billionaire who had never seen this side of the country before. He always traveled by helicopter, and from high above, the potholes on the country road were not visible. Deadly worried about the condition of his daughter, he paid little attention to the condition of the roads. Until one of the tires of his car fell into a hole and got completely deflated. This inflated the distress of the billionaire, who was worried about getting to his daughter on time. Luckily, the driver replaced the flat tire quickly, and they continued on the road to save his daughter. In a few hours, they reached the hospital in which the daughter was waiting for her father to save her. Somehow, they arrived just in time. There was still hope for the billionaire's daughter. There was still a chance for her life to be saved. The doctors placed the father and daughter next to each other and started the complicated surgery. In his palace at home, the rich billionaire had a private hospital that had the most advanced surgical equipment. But this country hospital was not his private hospital. This country hospital barely had the bare necessities to save a life. The doctors were unlike the specialists he had available in his castle. Their surgical tools seemed prehistoric compared to the state-of-the-art medical equipment the billionaire had in his private hospital at home. In the race with time, they decided to take the risk and perform the surgery then and there. The doctors opened the chest of the billionaire and took out his organs. They placed them in the body of his daughter, and then they waited. They waited, for it was only time that could tell whether the organs of the father would be accepted by his daughter. Time was the only judge whether the sacrifice of the father is sufficient to save the life of his only child. In a few hours, with great sadness, the doctors informed the father and his daughter that the surgery was unsuccessful. The daughter's body rejected the organs of her father. Her frail body rejected the sacrifice of her father. Due to many complications, the doctor gave them both only a few more hours to live. Lying next to his daughter, with tears in his eyes, the father looked at his daughter and mumbled, "Forgive me, my child. My whole life I have worked to become rich so that I can give you the best life. But now, while lying in this country bed, I can see that I have killed you." "Don't say that, father. You did your best to save me." "You don't understand, my child," said the father. "On the way here, I could have taken the helicopter, but it was broken. Since I'm the only one that owns a helicopter in this whole country, it was I that closed the helicopter factory a long time ago. Since I knew the right people in power, I paid no taxes. These taxes could have fixed the road that delayed my journey here. With the tax money, the hospital could have bought better equipment to save your life, my little angel." At last, the father said, "Before I thought richest is the man who has the most money. But now I see that nobody can be rich when those around him are poor. No man is rich when others are poor. Rich is only the man who makes everybody rich." Those were the last words spoken that day. That was how the rich billionaire lived. That is how the rich billionaire died.